This lesson is on solving inequalities. Inequalities are a lot like equations. Equations have the equals. Well, inequalities have greater than sign, greater than or equal to, the less than sign, and the less than or equal to. There's only one difference in solving inequalities that there is in solving equations. When you multiply or divide both sides of the equation by a negative, you have got to flip this inequality. And we'll see some examples of that. So in looking at number 1, again, this is your wall. Here's your x. You want to get the x by itself, so you're going to subtract 1. So I have 3x. Do not bring down an equals. Bring down that inequality, that greater than or equal to sign. 28 minus 1 is 27. Divide both sides by 3. Now I'm dividing by a positive number, so I do not flip anything. That inequality stays greater than or equal to, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. Now let's talk about what this answer means. And this says that x is greater than or equal to 9. That means it can be 9, yes, because it has the equal to, but it also means it can be anything bigger than 9, so 10 or 15 or 162 or a million. It's anything greater than or equal to 9, and I'm sure you've seen a number line. 9 would be up here. Close circle because we're including the 9, and then you would shade everything greater than. So this represents all the answers that x could be to make that inequality a true statement. You don't have to graph your answers, but you need to understand what this represents. This is not just one answer. It represents an infinite number of solutions, anything greater than or equal to 9. On number 2, here's your wall. To solve for x, I'm going to first subtract the 4. So I have negative 3x. I bring down my less than or equal to sign. 16 minus 4 is 12. Okay, now we are getting ready to divide by negative 3. And with inequalities, if you divide both sides of the equation by a negative number, which is what we're doing, you have got to flip that inequality. So this is going to be x. Flip it to a greater than or equal to, and then 12 divided by negative 3 is a negative 4. If you don't flip it, you'll have the wrong inequality symbol in your answer, and it will be incorrect. So really watch out for that detail. Number 3. Here's your wall. Here's your x. This 8 is a positive 8 because that negative belongs to the 4. So I'm going to subtract 8 again because it was positive. I don't flip for subtracting. I only flip for dividing by a negative. So I have a negative 4x left. I do not flip my greater than sign. A negative 16 and a negative 8 is a negative 24. And then I'm going to divide by a negative 4. And those are the magic words. When you divide by a negative, you have got to flip that sign. So it goes from a greater than to a less than. And then a negative 24 divided by a negative 4 is a positive 6. So x is less than 6. This means that x could be anything less than 6. So it could be a negative 100. It could be a negative 4. It could be a 0. It could be a 2. It could be a 5. It could even be a 5.9. But it cannot be a 6 because it does not have the equal to there. It only has the less than symbol. Number 4. Now, number 4 is really tricky, and a lot of students miss a problem like number 4. And it's so cute and little and simple looking. But notice that the x is on the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side. That's going to come into play. And if you don't pay attention to your details, you're going to miss it. So really pay attention. Here's your wall. Here's my x. So I'm going to add 8 to move him over to the other side. 6 plus 8 is 14. I did not divide by negative, so I do not flip, and I bring my 2x straight down. And now I'm going to divide by 2 to get my x by itself. I bring the x straight down. I bring my inequality straight down because I did not divide by negative. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Now technically we're done because I have gotten x by itself, but with inequalities you always want the x in the front on the left-hand side. So do not stop here. I want you to swing the x to the front and put the 7 to the back. Well, since we've rearranged the order, what do you think we have to do to our inequality? We have to flip it. You see how it's opening up to the x and pointing to the 7? It's got to do the same thing here. So this is your final answer. So if you solve it and you end up with your x on the right-hand side, you need to take that extra step and scoot him to the front, scoot your number to the back, but don't forget to flip your inequality because you rearrange the order. Number 5, we get to do this again. You see how the x is over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so here's my wall. My first job is to get x by itself. That negative applies to the 6, not the 3. So the 3 is positive. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. A negative 9 and a negative 3 is a negative 12. I do not flip my inequality because I just subtracted. You only flip your inequality if you divide by a negative. So my greater than or equal to is still there, and then my negative 6x. Now I'm going to divide by negative 6, and again, those are the magic words. I bring my x straight down. I flip my inequality. Why? Because I divided by a negative. A negative 12 divided by negative 6 is a positive 2. So I'm done. I have solved for x. But if you look at our answer, you can tell that our x is on the wrong side. So I have to flip it. I have to put my x in the front, my 2 in the back, and I have to flip my inequality because I'm rearranging the order of my problem. Now, in this problem, we flipped the inequality twice. Once here, because we divided by a negative, and then once here because I had to swing my x to the front and the 2 to the back. So that was a double flip. Number 6, again, you can see your x is on the right-hand side, so we're going to be doing some flipping at the end. First thing I want to do is move my 4, so subtract the 4 to get him away from the x. That gives me 21. Do not flip. We don't flip for subtracting. That's a negative 3x. Okay, now I'm going to divide by negative 3. And those are the magic words. So when you divide by negative 3, you've got to what? Flip your sign. Now, I'm done because I've got an x by itself, but my x is on the wrong side. So I'm going to swing my x to the front, my negative 7 to the back, and I've got to flip my sign because I rearranged. A lot of students will up here will say, oh, I'm going to divide by negative, so I'm going to flip. Oh, and then my x is on the wrong side, so I'm going to flip it again. And they try to do it all in one step, and they miss a flip. So take your time, write it out, show all your steps. That way you don't miss it. Again, these are not really difficult. You don't want to make a careless mistake and lose points. Number 7, we have x's on both sides. Well, if I know I want my x to end up on the left-hand side, then let's move them that way. So I'm going to subtract my 2x over here. 3x minus 2x is 1x, so I'm just going to write x. If you want to write a 1x, that's fine. Minus 5, I do not flip because I just subtracted. And there's my 4. And the last thing I have to do is add 5. No flipping needed. I did not divide by negative. My final answer, my x is on the left-hand side, so I'm good. Don't have to move a thing. Number 8, again, I have x's on both sides. So I'm going to subtract x. So that gives me 5x minus 9. Don't flip. And my 6. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So 5x, and that's a 15. Divide by 5. No flipping needed because that's a positive 5. And my x is on the left-hand side, so I don't have to flip it at all. Okay, now we've got a little distributing to do. So that would give me 14 minus 4x greater than 10. Here's my x. So I'm going to subtract my 14 because he's positive. That negative belongs to the 4, so he comes down with the 4. I don't flip for subtraction. 10 minus 4 is a negative 4. Now I'm going to divide by negative 4. Do I flip? Yes, because I divided by a negative. And a negative 4 divided by negative 4 is a positive 1. My x is on the left-hand side. All is good. Number 10, here's my wall. I'm going to add this 3x over to the left to get my x's on the left. That gives me 6x plus 12, don't flip, and a negative 12. And I'm going to subtract this positive 12 over to the other side. Gives me a negative 24. Divide by a positive 6, so do I flip? Absolutely not, because I'm not dividing by a negative. I don't care what I'm dividing into. I care what I'm dividing by. And I'm dividing by positive. I do not flip. And that gives me a negative 4. My x is on the left-hand side, so all is good. Number 11. I've got distributing on both sides. So give me 6x plus 6 less than or equal to 4x plus 8. Here's my wall. Think about what you want to move. It's a positive 4x, so I'm going to subtract it. Gives me 2x plus 6 less than or equal to, and I have an 8 over here. Next, I'm going to move the 6. I'm going to subtract 6. So I have 2x. Don't flip. 8 minus 6 is a 2. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So x is less than or equal to 1. X is on the left-hand side, so all is good. Last one, number 12. We're going to distribute the 3. So that's 3x plus 12 less than or equal to 6x minus 3. Here's my wall. I'm going to subtract 6x. That gives me a negative 3x plus 12. Now, do I flip? No, because I just subtracted a 6x, so no flipping. And remember that negative belongs to that 3, so don't lose that. And then I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. Again, no flipping because I'm just subtracting. So negative 3x, bring down my inequality less than or equal to. A negative 3 and a negative 12 gives me a negative 15. Divide by a negative 3. Do I flip? Yes, because I'm dividing by negative. That makes me flip my sign. A negative 15 divided by negative 3 is a positive 5. X is on the left-hand side. I don't have to flip anything at the end. All is good.